Hello, welcome to a session of English where we are going to read a poem written by or composed by Sarojini Naidu entitled The Gift of India. Let's see what, according to Sarojini Naidu, is the gift of India and to whom it was gifted. This poem is based during the First World War when Britain had asked for help as it was undergoing a shortage of soldiers to fight against Germany. So here, the title here talks of the gift that India bestowed upon Britain during this critical moment. So it talks as a voice of Mother India and asks the Britishers to at least memorize the sacrifice of her children. In this poem, the first stanza says, "Is there aught you need that my hands withhold? Rich gifts of raiment or grain or gold. Lo, I have flung to the east and west priceless treasures torn from my breast, and yielded the sons of my stricken womb to the drumbeats of duty, the sabres of doom." Now here the poetess says that is there something that you want that I have ever held back? It asks the Britishers whether India had ever denied to fulfill their requirements. I have already given you rich gifts of clothing, food, and gold. So, whatever was grown in this country, the Britishers took away with them and they enjoyed it. I have already sent my most priceless treasure. So, what was the priceless treasure? It was the sons of my womb who have gone all around the world to march to the beating of drums and perish at the hands of enemies. Mother India makes a mighty claim in the very first stanza of the poem, and while it may seem like a claim heavily tinted by sentiments, one mustn't forget that it is a claim based on hard facts. The role of our country in the World War I has been largely ignored, but the fact remains that over 1 million Indian soldiers actively fought for British interest alongside the Allied forces. The rich gifts of raiment or grain or gold isn't a mere poetic invention. The British India supplied around, and the fact that India helped the British despite being under their colonial rule is a much underappreciated fact. A literary technique is used to emphasize the extent of help provided to the British, that is, all the food, all the clothing, and whatever gold or silver that was produced in our country was given to the Britishers. In the second stanza, the poetess says, "Gathered like pearls in their alien graves, silent they sleep by the Persian waves. Scattered like shells on Egyptian sands, they lie with pale brows and brave broken hands. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders and France." Now in this stanza, Mother India bemoans the fact that her children have been collected like pearls and shells in their foreign graves by the Persian waves, the sands of Egypt, and meadows of Flanders and France. So all the dead bodies of our countrymen, they were scattered all over. Either they have gone in the Persian waves, in the water they have perished. In the sands of Egypt they have covered, their graves were found, and in the meadows of Flanders and France. So in the greeneries of Flanders and France, they lie dead. They lie dead with pale foreheads and mutilated bodies, and are scattered like flowers cruelly killed by misfortune. As the flowers are scattered carelessly all over. In the same way, misfortune happened with our countrymen. Their bodies were scattered all over, mutilated. In the third stanza, the poetess says, "Can ye measure the grief of the tears I weep, or compass the woe of the watch I keep, or the pride that thrills through my heart's despair, and the hope that comforts the anguish of prayer, and the far sad glories vision I see of the torn red banners of victory." Now, in this stanza, sees the mother asks other nations whether they can measure the grief that she feels or the tears that she weeps for her fallen sons. She asks them whether they can calculate the sorrow of the watchful eyes that are waiting for her children or the pride that overpowers the despair of her heart. She asks them whether they can experience the hope that she feels while praying for the safety of my children and the sad, glorious vision she sees of the torn flags of victory, covered with the blood of her martyred sons. Nobody will ever be fathom the suffering she has been through, and nobody will ever be able to compensate for the sacrifice made by her brave sons. In the last stanza, the poetess says, "When the terror and tumult of hate shall cease, and life be refashioned on anvils of peace, and your love shall offer memorial thanks to the comrades who fought in your dauntless ranks, and you honor the deeds of the deathless ones, remember the blood of my martyred sons." So here, the author, as the Mother India, wishes that the whole world must remember the sacrifice of the Indians. Here, the mother wishes that when the war gets over and life returns to normal, when the nations begin honoring the soldiers who fought by the side, the sacrifice of her sons must be honored too, and their rightful glory must be given to them. This is the message she has for the allied forces, especially Britain. Offer your gratitude and love to your fallen comrades who fought bravely by your side. Honor their memory and the brave deeds of the fearless ones. So remember the blood of the martyred sons of India. Here, the Mother India wishes that may the whole world remember and recall the sacrifice that the Indians gave. So, this is what is bestowed on the Britishers, and this was the gift of India that was given to the Britishers during the First World War. So, have a nice day and happy learning. Thank you.